Everyone taught you that being good was enough, that if you were kind, understanding, always available, the world would reward you with the respect you deserve. But let me tell you something nobody had the guts to say. Being too good won to save you. Not even close. While you're busy trying to please everyone, the world is busy learning how to ignore you. Because in the end, respect isn't earned with good intentions. It's earned with presence, with emotional strategy, with the courage to say, "This is where I draw the line." And that, most people never teach. If you're tired of being invisible, if you feel trapped inside a life built around needing approval, if, deep down, you know you deserve more than emotional crumbs, then take a deep breath and stay with me till the end. Because today, you're not here to learn how to be more agreeable. Today, you're here to learn how to be free. And what you about to discover, if you brave enough to walk through it, might just change not only how the world sees you, but more importantly, how you see yourself. Have you ever noticed how being too good can turn into an invisible trap? Since we're kids, we hear that kindness brings kindness back. But nobody really warns us that, in the real world, being overly understanding often leads straight into emotional submission. We grow up thinking that personal respect is a natural reward for good behavior. But with every "no problem" we swallow, with every "it's okay" said through gritted teeth, we drift further away from who we really are. And the worst part? Most people don't realize it until they're already feeling completely empty. Now imagine a friend who always says yes to everything, helping people move, lending money, covering shifts at work. Everyone liked him. Until one day, he needed help. Guess what? Silence. Being too good put him on a pedestal of convenience, not respect. This is one of Machiavel's lessons that few are brave enough to face. The real world doesn't reward pure intentions, it rewards emotional strategy. The psychology of submission shows us that when you give everything away without criteria, you stop being seen as a person and start being seen as a tool. It's not about losing your kindness, it's about learning how to impose limits. A simple exercise? Start saying no in small situations. Refuse favors you don't want to do. Leave some messages unanswered for a while. Protect your time like it's sacred. These small victories rebuild your emotional freedom one brick at a time. Take a breath with me. How many times have you swallowed hidden insults, forced smiles, silent discomforts, all just to avoid being difficult? The need for approval locks you up in invisible chains. Chains you barely notice until one day, you can't breathe anymore. Being good isn't the problem. The problem is letting the image of being good become more important than your truth. When Machiavel said that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few experience what you really are, he was pointing straight at this gap we create between what we show and what we feel. And each time you betray your truth just to meet others' expectations, that gap gets bigger. Respect dissolves. And without respect, relationships are nothing but silent transactions of convenience. Here is an invitation. Trade the rush to be liked for the patience to be truly understood. Those who master emotional strategy know that respect is earned through clear limits, not endless concessions. Let some people get uncomfortable. Let others walk away. They're not leaving your life. They're just making room for those who can truly see you. Maybe you're wondering, but won't I seem selfish? The harsh truth? To those who got used to benefiting from your emotional submission, any act of self-assertion will seem selfish. And you know what that means? You're on the right path. Nobody respects a shadow that bends to fit. Respect comes from presence, from firmness, from the courage to be whole. And it's exactly through this new understanding of being too good that we start to open a very uncomfortable and absolutely necessary door into what Machiavel really meant when he spoke about power and respect. Have you ever stopped to realize that the world doesn't react to your essence? It reacts to the image you project. It's a hard pill to swallow, I know. But Machiavel saw this centuries ago. And believe me, this lesson has never been more urgent than it is today. While most people believe being too good will automatically earn them personal respect, Machiavel saw a harsher truth. If you don't master emotional strategy, you become invisible. You might have the purest heart in the room, but if you don't know how to impose limits, the world will treat you like a doormat. It's strange, isn't it? That kindness without emotional strategy gets mistaken for weakness. But just look around. At work, in families, in relationships. How often do the softest voices get interrupted? How often do the yes people get burdened with the worst loads? The psychology of submission isn't just about fear, it's about how the world reads your signals. And if your signal is, "I'll accept anything," the world will hand you everything, including the things you never asked for. That's why Machiavel's lessons are so brutal and so necessary. Picture the fox, silent, watchful, keen at sensing danger. Now picture the lion, pure presence, a strength that doesn't need to shout. Machiavel wasn't telling us to choose between them. He was inviting us to become both. The fox, to spot emotional traps, those hidden manipulations that slip under the radar. And the lion, to remind everyone that crossing your boundaries comes with consequences. Without this balance between cunning and strength, emotional freedom remains just a fantasy. Think about that one coworker who says yes to every request, hoping to be appreciated. They're kind, sure, but they're also predictable. And what's predictable becomes easy to use and easy to discard. Being too good without emotional strategy is like playing chess without knowing how to move your king. Sooner or later, you're cornered. As Machiavel knew well, real life isn't made for those who simply hope. It's made for those who can see beyond good intentions. Maybe you're wondering, but if I protect myself too much, won't people leave? The truth? Yes. But the first ones to leave will always be the ones who were only there for what you could offer, not for who you are. Personal respect doesn't grow from fear of disappointing others. It grows from the clarity of knowing your own worth and boundaries. Sometimes the hardest moment is facing yourself in the mirror and admitting, "I let them treat me this way." It stings, sure, but it also sets you free. Because if you accepted being small once, you can now choose to stand tall. Machiavel wasn't encouraging cruelty. He was urging us to stop being easy prey. Emotional strategy begins the moment you decide you'll no longer live to please. Want a powerful exercise? Next time someone tests your boundary by interrupting you, manipulating you, minimizing you, pause. Look them in the eye and simply say, "I don't accept being treated that way." No yelling, no drama, just presence, just personal respect in action. You'll feel it in your bones. Imposing limits doesn't destroy true bonds. It only eliminates the ones that were never real. And while most people keep running in circles, desperate for approval, you'll be quietly building something rare, real emotional freedom. And maybe, just maybe, you'll start wondering what else Machiavel could teach about thriving in a world where wolves are always lurking. Have you ever noticed how the need for approval silently shapes the way we show up in the world? It's almost invisible at first. A forced smile here, a fake, "it's okay" there. And before you know it, emotional submission wraps itself around you like a second skin. The psychology of submission doesn't come from weakness. It's born out of fear. Fear of upsetting others. Fear of being rejected. Fear of being abandoned. And in that slow, silent process, being too good becomes the quickest way to disappear. It's sad, but it's real. Those who live to please become masters at fading into the background. They learn to measure their words, read the room, anticipate what others want to hear. The problem? That radar, when not guided by emotional strategy, becomes a trap. You're not being empathetic. You're abandoning yourself. And Machiavel, if he could whisper in your ear right now, would say, "The one who depends on others' approval will never rule himself." Harsh, but needed. A simple example? Think about that coworker who always says yes to extra shifts, extra projects, extra favors. At first, they're seen as helpful, then as easy, and eventually as expendable. Personal respect never grows out of convenience. It grows from the ability to kindly but firmly say, "This is where I draw the line." If you still believe setting boundaries will drive good people away, maybe it's time to ask yourself whether they were good for you in the first place. Take a deep breath now. Imagine how many times you smiled while screaming inside. How many times you said, "It is fine," while carrying the weight of invisible stones on your back. That backpack gets heavy. And what would Machiavel say? He'd tell you, as long as you carry what you should have set down, you'll never be free. Being too good, without knowing how to impose limits, is like offering flowers on a battlefield. The intention is beautiful, but the battlefield will crush you. Want a practical exercise? Choose one small moment this week where you'd usually fold. It could be disagreeing politely, delaying a response, prioritizing your own rest without apology. And when that moment comes, remember, it's not about being rude. It's about affirming your right to exist, fully, as you are. That's what emotional freedom looks like in action. You might feel guilty. That's normal. The psychology of submission has been fed for years. But guilt isn't always a sign you're doing something wrong. Sometimes guilt is just the old programming trying to pull you back onto the leash. Every respectful no is a key unlocking a new cell. Every limit you set is a piece of solid ground you reclaim in your life. Here's a truth nobody told you. Your value isn't determined by how nice you are. It's determined by your ability to be kind without erasing yourself, to be generous without being drained, to be human without becoming submissive. Being too good isn't the solution. The solution is to build an identity where the need for approval no longer holds the keys to your destiny. And while many keep living like emotional chameleons, blending into every environment just to survive, you'll start waking up something different. Something that doesn't bend. Something that doesn't ask for permission. Something that just might realize that, to truly be free, you'll need to make a much bigger choice than you ever imagined. At some point, everyone faces this silent crossroads: live to be loved, or live to be free. And the truth is, most people, without even realizing it, choose the prison of approval. Being too good feels like the safest path. After all, who could reject someone who's always kind, always available? But here's what no one tells you: that endless availability is read as emotional submission, not as virtue. The emotional strategy the world respects is very different from self-erasure. Have you noticed how some people just naturally command respect? They say no, and that's it. No drama, no over-explaining. That's the power of emotional freedom. It's not about being rebellious for the sake of it. It is about carrying a deep certainty inside you that your value doesn't depend on someone else's approval. Those who master this truth know that personal respect isn't something you beg for. It is something you embody. Take a deep breath with me. How many choices have you made just to please others? How many times have you put someone else's happiness before your own, just to keep the peace? The problem is, that peace comes at a steep price. It demands your identity, your dreams, your authenticity. If Machiavel were sitting across from you right now, he'd say, "It is better to be respected by a few than manipulated by many." A tough lesson, but a liberating one. Maybe you're thinking, "But I don't want to hurt people." Of course not. You're human. But here's the real question. Are you willing to keep hurting yourself just to maintain connections that only exist because you hide who you are? The need for approval is a sweet poison. It tastes harmless at first, but it slowly eats away your ability to choose yourself. And in that setup, being too good becomes a slow form of self-betrayal. Want a practical exercise? Pick one area of your life where you tend to disappear. It could be at work, at home, or in your relationships. Just for this week, practice saying what you truly feel. Respectfully, of course, but firmly. You don't have to be aggressive. You just have to be honest. At first, the discomfort might feel overwhelming, but remember, every time you survive that discomfort, you're building another pillar of your emotional freedom. Maquiavel said that most people only see what you appear to be, not who you truly are. So, the choice is yours. Keep living behind masks just to fit in, or start shaping a soul that's too real to need approval. The psychology of submission will always whisper in your ear, be nice, be agreeable, be safe. But somewhere deeper inside you, there's a voice that craves self-assertion, personal respect, and being whole. You'll lose people when you stop being the domesticated version of yourself. That's a fact. But look on the bright side. The first to leave will always be the ones who never truly respected you in the first place. Emotional freedom comes with a price, selective solitude. And honestly, it's a small price compared to living a lifetime under the shadow of needing approval. And so the inevitable question echoes louder. Do you want to be loved at any cost? Or do you want to be free to be who you truly are? This choice isn't made once. It's made every single day, in the tiny details of your life. And maybe, just maybe, today, you'll take the first real step toward becoming the true protagonist of your own story. Now tell me, how many more times will you settle for crumbs when you were born to be whole? How many more times will you silence your own voice just to keep doors open that lead nowhere? Today, you hold a piece of knowledge that most people spend a lifetime without even seeing. The psychology of submission, the trap of needing approval, the difference between being good and being free. The real question is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to keep living to fit into someone else's expectations? Or are you finally going to build a life where personal respect matters more than forced acceptance? The choice has always been in your hands. Now it's just impossible to ignore. So tell me down in the comments, what's the first boundary you're going to set today? What's the first no you're going to say? Without guilt. And if this conversation lit something inside you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Here, you won't find magic formulas. You'll find the courage to become who you were always meant to be. I'll see you in the next video. And next time, I hope to meet a stronger, bolder, and freer version of you.